I'm Tom Morgan, and I was the director here.
This particular governor's school was one of the original 5. And there were key leaders who saw the vision and realized that Central Virginia had something very special to offer.
I'm Claude Mays, and I was on the original governing board of Central Virginia Magnet School, it was called at the time.
When we walked into our space the first year, there was nothing in it. And it was July, and we were opening in September.
Chuck Robb was governor of Virginia, and he was an educational governor, and he decided that we needed several magnet schools for science and technology, and we were fortunate that he talked him into putting one of them in Lynchburg.
Every day was something new. And the students who came with us, to this day I call them pioneers. We also had a very special person, Joan Rolls, who was our first secretary.
She was a staff member and an adult, but she was more of a friend and more as one of us.
Things were changing, things were happening. I was in the second class, and I knew the students from Amherst who were in the first class the year ahead of me, and I got to see what they were doing as they went to the governor's school. And I know that I and my classmates were very excited to be participating in this. This was something new, it was something exciting.
When you start something, you're lucky to survive. And frankly, we were lucky to survive. And the question for the staff in the beginning was, what can we do to make this a technology-centered program?
We did workshops on how to use a CD-ROM and a video disc. Those were some of our first workshops. And there are people who are seeing this video that have no clue what those are.
Mr. Howard brought out this fancy thing called email that none of us had ever seen before or heard of before.
The idea of the internet back then, it was very new. And I had worked on a team at the University of Virginia that developed the first email system for Virginia teachers. And CVGS was actually the first node that was implemented on that network.
I do remember thinking like, wow, this is a really neat fascinoma that I will never see again when I leave governor's school, but I'm going to play with it now because it's fun.
That was pretty remarkable, the computer lab here. I mean, up to that point, I'd been operating on a Tandy 1000.
Just being able to type something into the computer and have the person next to you be able to read it immediately afterwards, that was one of the coolest things ever.
I met my wife here. Well, I actually asked her out for the first time via email, which was pretty remarkable. It might have been one of the first times that was ever done.
We did holography, we did fast capture photography. Basically anything you can envision doing technologically wise, if you ask someone about doing it, it happened.
Our first electron microscope arrived in a snowstorm.
And we had a research teacher with us at that point, Mr. Anderson, and he and I took a truck all the way to Dayton, picked up the electron microscope, and brought it back here in 16 inches of snow.
A lot of snow, I mean, what you got to realize in the beginning, you do everything.
Physics class, we didn't just, look at the velocity of a ball after 5 seconds and throwing it a different air. We went outside and we did it and we measured it and we proved it. It was actually doing it that really solidified it in my head rather than just something on paper.
And I really grew to respect the way that Mr. Bishop taught us physics in terms of having us lay out the equation and the variables that we needed to use, and then we state the problem that we're trying to solve, and we go through very systematically. And he was one of the first teachers that gave me partial credit for that type of work. And you were actually able to get an A in the class without getting the problem right. It rewarded you for how you thought instead of the product that you put out on the table, which I think is tremendously important to teach high school students.
They're motivated academically, so the faculty can be a lot more loose in their interactions with students, and that's where you get that bonding, that closeness.
We weren't just student, teacher, we were colleagues, we were working together.
Being in the environment of other people that are also driven like that, and people that also have that same sort of thought process, there's a little bit of a competition there And it's good because then you want to excel and you want to be just as good, if not better, than all of your contemporaries.
If the school is going to exist, it's because it's different. There's no reason for this school if it offers the same thing as the high schools we serve.
The goal is we want you to succeed in whatever you're doing in the future. If that's your goal, the way you teach is very different.
For my research project, I guess that was junior year, I was testing the drag of water skis. So we built a trough that was probably 12 feet long, filled it with water. First time we filled it with water, we flooded the upstairs, so that was fun.
In Dr. Lindemann's class where we kind of had our first research experiment project, and I ended up feeding caffeine to plants, which I don't even remember what happened. I think they grew a little bit faster, but I think we mostly ended up killing them off with caffeine.
There was the time I broke the robotic arm because I programmed it wrong, and I made it like slam into something for about half an hour before I could figure out how to make it stop, and I didn't tell anyone about that.
You know, if there's a reason this program is successful, it's because of the support that we got. And we've always had the support of the superintendents and the school divisions we serve, and we've always had the support of the community, and that's what allows us to be different.
I'd phone my friends and say, hey, I have this wonderful student. And I'm thinking, yeah, they're really wonderful. Wonderful student, and they'll do a great job for you. And I was putting my reputation on the line with some of those students.
The internship, my first internship, was actually my first professional, my first experience with a professional career path. And that's literally what I'm doing right now. I'm maintaining software for engineers, and that's what I did for the intern. And the coolest thing was when I actually demoed it and I actually saw other people using what I was using. These highly paid engineers at the time were using what I built. Wow, that was pretty incredible to me.
Through my internship, I made contacts that in later years were useful for me wanting to come back to the area.
We had a school advisory board that was set up and industrial advisory board. The industrial advisory board were the people who were leaders in business and industry that said, we will help you start this internship.
Businesses can become excited about recruiting a really high quality employee from right here when they know they're here. And so connecting them to school is really important.
I have to say that it's a highlight of my year to have the interns to arrange that internship and run that internship for Centra Health.
As a high school student, I was really only aware of teachers and maybe the retail establishments that I frequented. I wasn't aware of the STEM-related careers that were in my neighborhood, jobs that I could do in the future if I chose to come back. Those people weren't very visible to me. Maybe they were parents of my friends, but I didn't think of them as scientists, I thought them as parents.
Being engineers and architects, lots of times our folks tend to kind of have their head down working on their projects, getting stuff out the door, meeting client needs, that type of thing. I think it really is helpful when we can have our folks get engaged in the governor's school and kind of give back to the profession and do something that's not just part of their day-to-day job.
The fact that we have a collaboration where the counties and Lynchburg City all work together and they think that this is important enough to invest that kind of money and effort in their children is unique and very special.
I wanted to be an astronomer since I was 9, and the path to doing that would have not been possible without CVGS.
CVGS is a place where a lot of gifted and talented students found a home during their teenage years.
CVGS is a unique, innovative, and rigorous program that helps students connect all the learning they do with what opportunities there are down the road.
Absolutely was the best decision I ever made in my life to come here, and it absolutely blows my mind when I think back and wonder if I could actually accomplish what the kids are accomplishing here today.
know, at some point, they're gonna be the leaders, and that's who we're gonna be looking to carry us as a community.
It's really nice to know that there is this resource available to students who are interested in it.
You can end pretty much every debate about the quality of public education with this place. There is nothing that compares to this place.
This is the 30th, and I hope to be back for the 40th and the 50th. I'll be getting a little old by the 50th.